The sun is a hammer. It beats down on the open woodland, bleaching the tall grasses to the color of bone. She drives the warm point of the stick into the baked earth, her knuckles white with the strain. Her name is a series of sounds unspoken, a pattern of recognition within her troop. But her reality is universal. Hunger. The ground is unyielding, offering up only meager, fibrous roots for her effort. This is the unforgiving rhythm of life a million years ago. On her back, a small weight shifts, and a tiny, four-fingered hand loses its grip in her corsair, scrabbling for a new hold. She stops, her whole body tensing. The infant whimpers, a thin, dangerous sound in the vast, listening silence. This is the cost of walking on 2 feet. Bipedalist has freed her hands, but it has also unmoored her young. They are born helpless, their feet no longer shaped for grasping a mother's flank, their hands too weak to do more than cling precariously. Every act of survival, every swing of the digging stick, every scan of the horizon is a negotiation with gravity and the infant's insecure purchase. She has strayed, perhaps 50 paces too far from the others, lured by a patch of less trampled ground. Their low-contact calls are now just a murmur on the hot wind, a fading promise of safety. Here, the grass is high enough to hide a threat, but not high enough to offer an escape. There are no trees to climb. That world is a receding memory in the architecture of her bones, a ghost in her instincts. A change in the air holds her. It is not a sound, but the sudden absence of it. The dry crackle of insects has ceased. The small, seed-eating birds have fallen quiet. She straightens slowly, every muscle coiling. Her head turns, the movement economical. Her dog eyes sweeping the sea of grass. Her foraging is forgotten. The stick, a tool for sustenance moments ago, now feels flimsy in her palm. A pathetic sliver of wood against the true powers of this world. Her infant feels her fear, its small body stiffening against her spine. She reaches back, pressing a hand over its mouth to stifle any sound. Then she sees it, not the whole animal, but the consequence of its presence. A patch of grass, 20 paces to her left, sways against the direction of the breeze. It is a subtle, unnatural motion. A flicker of dappled ochre, low to the ground, patient. The air fills with a new scent, thick and predatory. The watcher is a Dinofelis, a false saber-tooth, a creature built for ambush in this very environment. It is not the largest killer on the plain, but it is brutally efficient, and it has recognized the fundamental weakness of her situation. A lone Australopithecus mother, divided in her purpose, anchored to the earth by the precious, vulnerable weight on her back. A pivotal, unwritten chapter in hominid history is unfolding, and it may end here, in a silent, savage rush. She does not run. To run is to invite the chase. To confirm her status as prey, she holds her ground, a statue carved from terror. Her knuckles are bloodless on the digging stick. Slowly, with a deliberateness born of ultimate fear, she raises it, not as a weapon, but as an extension of her height. She opens her mouth and a sound tears from her throat, not a plea, but a roar, explosive bark of defiance that is part threat, part pure panic. It is the language of all creatures who find themselves cornered. The swaying grass stills. The predator, a fleeting shape of muscle and dappled hide, holds its position. It is calculating. The small, screaming thing is an easy meal, but its parent is agitated, unpredictable. For a long moment, the fate of this small branch of human evolution hangs in the balance. Then, with a twitch of its tufted ears, the Dinofelis backs away, melting into the landscape. It is not retreat, but postponement. She backs away, one trembling step at a time, never turning her back. The 50 paces back to the troop feel like a journey across a continent when she stumbles into their midst. The scent of her fear precedes her. They see her wild eyes, the way she clutches her infant, the trembling that wrecks her body. There is no comfort offered, no grooming or soft calls. Her terror is a contagion, a vital piece of intelligence. The other early humans look past her, scanning the horizon from where she came, their own anxiety rising. The near miss has become a shared experience, a lesson burned into the collective mind without a single word. They abandon the foraging site, a tight, nervous cluster, and retreat to the relative safety of a sparse acacia grove for the remainder of the day. The next morning, the troop moves out with a new purpose. The memory of the lone mother's terror has altered their shape. It is an unconscious, emergent intelligence, an adaptive strategy forged in the crucible of fear. The mothers with infants, the most vulnerable, now walk in the center of the group. With them are the very young and the old male whose limp has grown more pronounced. They are surrounded by a moving perimeter of the troop's strongest, the large males and the unburdened females. They move with their heads up, their digging sticks held like sentry spears. They forage less, but they see more. They are a circle of eyes. This is the genesis of a profound shift in prehistoric life, a move from individual survival to collective defense. This is social cohesion in its most primal form. The troop flows over the savannah, a single, multi-limbed organism. A young male on the eastern flank stops, sniffing the air, his gaze fixed on a distant disturbance. He makes a low, guttural sound. Instantly, the digging ceases. The circle tightens, a dozen faces turning outward. Their combined stare is a palpable force, a declaration that they are one, and to attack one is to attack all. To witness this is to place your hand on the deep, foundational bedrock of our own story, to trace the oldest lines in the epic of us. The predator is still out there, its patience a cold, geological force. It is watching and learning. This new defense, this fragile fortress of flesh and bone, has not yet felt the full weight of a determined assault. Days pass. The circle holds. The new formation becomes a habit, a moving architecture of vigilance. The troop's collective memory of the lone mother's terror has become their most valuable tool. A piece of primitive technology, more crucial than any sharpened stick. But the watcher has not left. The Dinophallus is a persistent shadow, its hunger a constant, low-frequency threat that hums beneath the daily rhythms of survival. It understands their new strategy. Then now, it seeks to dissect it. The attack comes not at the height of the sun, but in the tired, hazy light of late afternoon, when resolve is thinning, bodies are weary from a day of fruitless foraging. It does not charge the strongest males. It explodes from a thicket of scrub, a blur of speed and lethal intent,
At last,
aimed directly at the flank of the moving circle. Its target is the old male, the one with the limp. The cat has observed that he is the slowest to react, the weak link in the chain of bodies. The circle fractures for a heartbeat. Panic is a lightning strike. The mothers pull their infants closer, a cascade of sharp, terrified cries erupting. But the perimeter does not break. Two males pivot, their own fear sublimated into a roaring display. They rush forward, not to engage, but to close the gap, waving their sticks and baring their teeth. It is a desperate bluff against 9 centimeters of saber-like canine. The old male, a step behind the others, finds himself facing the predator alone. There is no time to retreat into the panicked fold. In that instant, a choice is made. He does not turn to run. He lunges toward the cat, his throat issuing a hoarse, guttural challenge. It is not an act of courage as we would define it. It is the final, selfless spasm of a life dedicated to the group. His sacrifice buys 3 seconds. The cat, surprised by the insane charge of its intended victim, swats him down with a single, contemptuous blow of a pawed limb. But in those 3 seconds, the circle has reformed. It has become a wall of sound and fury. The air is thick with their screaming barks, a coordinated sonic assault. They beat the ground with their sticks, throwing clods of earth and loose stones. It is chaos, but it is directed chaos. This is not a fight. It is a violent negotiation. The Hominid troop is communicating a single, unified message. This meal will come at a cost. The predator. Its easy kill now complicated. Its face powdered with debris, hesitates. It stands over the fallen male, its prize secured, but the unrelenting war of noise and aggression denies it the peace to feed. It gnaws, grabs its kill, and drags it back into the scrub, retreating from the maddening, unified defiance of these ancient humans. They have demonstrated one of the most vital survival skills. They have held the line. The troop stands trembling as silence returns. One of their own is gone. The cost is real, written in blood on the dry earth. But the infants are safe. The core of their future is intact. As the sun sets, they do not mourn. They gather, their bodies pressed close, finding reassurance in physical contact. They have looked into the face of extinction and held its gaze long enough for it to blink. Tonight, a new certainty settles into their bones. Alone, they are food. Together, they are a force. This hard-won knowledge, this social blueprint born of terror and sacrifice, is the legacy they will carry forward. Embers and echoes. The dust settles on the savannah, but the echo of that moment will never fade. It expands outward, across 3 million years, to find us here. That circle of bodies was more than a defense. It was the first, unwritten contract. It was the moment our ancestors chose the profound power of us over the lonely vulnerability of I. The study of anthropology is, in many ways, the study of how that circle grew from troop to clan, to village, to the sprawling, complicated cities we inhabit today. Every time we band together to protect the vulnerable, every time we choose collective good over individual gain, we are unknowingly reenacting that desperate stand under the African sun. Their victory was not in defeating the predator, but in discovering the strength within their social bond. This is the great, subtle truth of human evolution. Our greatest adaptation was not a sharper tooth or a stronger arm, but the simple, revolutionary act of turning to face the darkness. Together, to understand this moment is to press your ear to the fossil record and hear not silence, but a heartbeat. Chronicle this with us. When we look into the mirror of the deep past, what primal fears and loyalties do we see reflected in our own modern eyes? The past is never silent. It is a pressure in our blood, a whisper in our bones, waiting for us to learn how to listen. Next, a hand that learned to hold a stone, and a mind that learned to hold a grudge.